Yes, letting books roll over you. It's been such a helpful revelation. In my 20s and 30s, I started tackling harder books. And so I want to share two things that I wish I could have said to myself at 21. And one is embrace audiobooks, especially for tackling the classics, because they just roll over you. They keep on going. You can't go back and read the paragraph or stop and try to figure out what that reference is in Greek mythology. You can't stop and check your phone. The audio just keeps on going. And if you find that your mind has wandered, just like in meditation, you bring yourself back to the text and assume that if you missed it, it probably wasn't that vitally attractive to your brain anyway. Don't worry about it. I think one of the best cases of this is Ulysses by James Joyce, because it has such a giant stature. I think a lot of people are afraid of it. But when you start reading it, it's pretty approachable. I mean, it's medium hard difficulty. But there is a staged version of Ulysses on LibriVox that is free. And so you have different actors doing the voices. And it just makes clear what a fantastic, funny, scatological, sexual book that it is. And what made it so great was it was just a stream of consciousness from one guy's brain bopping around all over the place like our brains do. And the audiobook makes that so clear. I see the same thing with the Frank Miller version of Moby Dick. His Shakespearean delivery just makes the whole funniness of the book and the spiritual seriousness of it just roll over you. So embrace the audiobooks. And the second thing I would exhort you to is read the hard, great classic books. For almost all of them, they're not nearly as hard as you might think that they are. For things like the Odyssey and the Iliad, the reason we've been reading them for millennia is because they're great stories. Unless a book is purposely made to be tricky, which I don't particularly respect, most of these great classics, especially novels of the 18th and 19th century, they're really readable books. They appeal to most people. It's why they still get read. Yes, they can be filled with tricky problems of what does this mean and what are the characters' motivations and things like that. But you don't have to worry about that. I mean, most of us, we're not scholars trying to tackle this. We're just trying to get a flavor of a book into us so it can permanently shift our brains. You don't even have to remember it that well. I take notes in the backs of the classics just because I like to and go back and review the best quotes and all that. But once it's in your brain, it shifts you and shapes you forever. Whether you remember the exact plot of the story, and even if you lose which character is which character, none of that really matters. You're just trying to get the basic pattern of it. For me, I have a whole bunch of classics upstairs where I've only read the first 2/3 of them. And I get them now. I get the flavor of them. And it's not like the end of Faust is, I have to know that to be a complete person. Now I'm just reading the ends of these books slowly because I enjoy them and I don't want to quite let them die. So I read a couple pages every couple weeks. But these books are actually much more fun and enjoyable than you would guess at first glance. And so just let them roll over you. And if you want one more good trick about not having to worry about it too much, Buckminster Fuller, the great thinker of geodesic domes and the great connector of great ideas, he said, don't read a whole book. Read the left page of every book. That's all you need. You don't need the right-handed page. And this way you can read twice as many books. I don't quite do that, but I get where he's coming from. We don't have to solve all the problems in these tricky books. We just want to get it through at once and get a general idea of it. And if you fall in love with it, like I did with Moby Dick, you go back and you dig in, you read the critical literature, you do all that stuff. But for most books, you just want the flavor. So go out there, listen to great books, read great books, have a ball.